You're listening to the Voices of Recovery podcast. This is a special episode featuring a recovering addict. Hi, my name is Sophie X. I'm the host and producer of the Voices of Recovery podcast. I'm joined here today by Alexis. Hi, Alexis.
Hello.
Alexis is opening up our November series on dual diagnosis in recovery. Thank you so much for doing our reading for the Just for Today and for the SPAD.
My pleasure.
Thank you for volunteering too, because you heard that I was looking for people to be on the podcast in our local area, Nassau area, and you volunteered yourself as a person to speak on recovery and dual diagnosis. So thank you so much for doing that.
My pleasure. I think it's extremely important that people understand that drugs is just a part of it, but mental health also plays a huge role.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we say dual diagnosis in the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous, we're actually talking about, a mental health condition and addiction. So you have a unique perspective that I really want our listeners to hear about. So tell us a little bit about who Alexis is, who's the woman behind the voice of the readings for the beginning of November.
I am a mama bear of two gorgeous, gorgeous little boys. I have a 7-year-old, his name is Anthony, and I have a 10-year-old whose name is Joseph, who is diagnosed with autism.
Mm-hmm. So you're a mother of an autistic child as well. So tell me a little bit about pre-Mama Bear Alexis, right? What was it like to grow up as a child? When were you diagnosed with your mental illnesses?
So from the time that I was 18 months old, my mom had breast cancer. So I never really knew what a normal childhood was like. And in the 8th grade, my dad's dad, and I am adopted. So I refer to the parents who adopted me as mom and dad. Like I don't associate with the woman like birth parents, people who gave birth to me. Yeah. So my dad, his father became very, very ill. He was 95 years old. He passed away. And that was my first ever experience with death. And it did something to my brain chemistry. How old are you when you're in like the 8th grade?
When you're in the 8th grade, you think you're like 13.
Yeah, yeah. So I was young. And like I said, it did something to my brain chemistry. And I became this incredibly depressed little girl. Like closed off from the world, didn't want to function, didn't really want to be friends with anybody, really, really secluded myself. And I got to the point where I was self-harming and I didn't like that I was doing it. It made me feel really, really uncomfortable in my skin. So I went to the guidance counselor, and thank God for them. They called my mom and asked, do you want us to call an ambulance? Do you want to put your daughter in a psych unit? Like Miss VG, like, what do you want to do? And so my mom just said, like, no, like, I'm just going to take her home and, can I work with you guys to find her a therapist? And the next day I was in therapy.
That's great. That's amazing that you were able to get that intervention early on, right? And recognize the symptoms by yourself to say, hey, this is not okay. I don't want to hurt myself. Thank God. So when that happened, what was therapy like being a 13-year-old, right?
It was weird. Like my mom had to sit in the room because, I wasn't over 18 and she had to like hear the things that I was saying, some of it, or like other sessions she left the room and then came back after and the therapist like told her what we talked about. And then like they put me in group therapy with like a bunch of other depressed girls.
So your formal diagnosis then was depression, yeah?
In the beginning, yeah, yeah. That was the first ever diagnosis upon quite a few. And I believe at that time I might have also been diagnosed with anxiety because I was always like a very anxious person, like socially awkward, really, really struggled in school because of it.
Did you have any attention deficit issues?
I definitely did, but I was never formally diagnosed as a child. And I'm laughing about it because it didn't come out until like my early 30s that like I definitely have ADHD. I don't know if my parents were just like weren't aware of the fact that like
Or maybe they were focusing on the depression too much to realize that there
I
was something else operating.
yeah, I really think that's what it could have been. And it's like, I wish I could ask them, but now that they're both deceased, like that's kind of hard. But I think that my mom was so laser focused on my mental health that she probably didn't see that like I couldn't focus really on anything else.
How old were you when your parents passed away?
So I was in my early 20s when my mom passed. It's been 11 years. And this Sunday will actually be 3 years since my dad passed.
Goodness. Yeah. You've shared a bit in the rooms about the difficulties that you've been going through with your father and losing your father and having been the person who found him and what that was like for you to have to go through as an adult. So, 3 years since you lost your dad and you lost your mom in your early 20s, when did your addiction really take off?
It's funny the way that it all kind of like came into the picture. So I started dabbling in alcohol and marijuana in high school. My first year of high school as a ninth grader, I went to Catholic school. I failed out because I couldn't hack it.
So, shortly after you got diagnosed with depression, then.
Yeah, so I started smoking cigarettes in the 8th grade, like any, degenerate kid would do because I saw my older sister doing it. I have an older sister who's 4.5 years older than I am. And I saw her doing it and I was like, ooh, give me that. And so for me, that was my first escape outside of my body. Did I know it was bad for me? Yeah. Did I give a crap? No. Because I just didn't want to feel.
Right, you're an addict.
Exactly. I'm an addict.
We smoke our feelings, we drink our feelings, we do all the things to not feel the fucking feelings.
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
And that's what makes us addicts. That's, our common bond or common denominator. So, shortly after you find out, then you start picking up, right? Various substances.
Yeah, so it was so funny. I remember the first time that I was ever offered marijuana from one of my sister's dopey boyfriends, and I didn't know what the hell it was, and it smelled funny, and I didn't want it. So I'm just like, nah, I'm good. Not short after that had I tried marijuana for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it got me high. Like, I don't know if I didn't do it right or like what. I remember the second time. I was fucked up. Like off to the races. And I was like, yes, I found my shit. Because I didn't like alcohol because
Me neither.
I was also on psych meds at the time. So it's like
Right.
anytime that I would drink, I would get really, really sick and start vomiting. So it's like,
Yeah.
oh, that's not good for me. I don't like that.
That's another thing about people who are dual diagnosis. If you're actively treating your mental illness, your medicine will make you very sick, depending on what type of drug you're using, right? So, talk a little bit about what it was like to have those medications and to have your medications making you well, and then you actively making yourself unwell through your decision making and usage.
I wouldn't necessarily say that the medications were making me well or better.
Hmm. Or
Um
trying to, I'm sorry, trying to make you better. You're not taking them to get you worse.
I, and it's so funny that you say that because a lot of the times, like, I was that like billboard for like what goes wrong on medication. It's like the chart where it says all the side effects, like, hi, it's me, type of thing. So for many, many years, I fell victim to being a guinea pig for medication.
Mm,
My mom didn't really know what to do, and she tried her damn best. And my dad was kind of like, you're your mom's problem.
mm,
Um, it's not that he wasn't supportive. He just came from two parents who were very cold. His dad was never around. His dad was a sailor and his mom was a drunk. So, he did the best that he could with what he knew how to do,
yeah.
basically.
And the kids'
Um,
problems are the mom's problems, not
yeah,
daddy's problem.
it
Dad brings
always,
home the bacon.
yes, it always fell onto my mom. God bless her, because she was an absolutely wonderful woman for the most part, but like I said, like, she didn't know what to do. She just followed doctor's orders because she thought that was best. And I became really, really angry. Like, I
Hmm.
was that angry little gremlin of a child in the corner, and like, I'm currently doing step 4 with my sponsor, and question after question after question, all my answers are anger,
Yeah.
and I get it now. um so it's a lot of resentment about being on medication, a lot of not understanding why it didn't work the way that it was supposed to. Come to find out, girl, it didn't work because you were doing drugs.
Yeah.
You were doing all the stuff you should have been.
Why isn't my medication working?
Spoiler alert, drugs fuck it up.
That's so funny. Yeah, that's so true. There
Yeah.
a lot of the challenges. Well, first of all, let me say that taking medication is challenging because medication is not a one size fits all thing, right? Every brain is unique. Everyone's brain chemistry is unique. Everyone's genetics are unique. And a medication is sort of like a, it's supposed to be a one size fits all, but it doesn't work that way. It's not a glove, right? A leather glove where like it fits to your hand. It's just like, does your hand fit in this glove? Probably not, but is it covering most of your fingers? Yeah. So
Yeah.
in having those challenges with your family, what were your behaviors like coming up as a person who was actively using and having a diagnosed mental illness, which you're taking medication for, right? What was that like? Who were you like?
Like I said, like I was such an angry little girl, but I was also the biggest, biggest douchebag. Like, for lack of a better word, I mean, you could throw in a sprinkle of asshole on top of it, but I was just a miserable, miserable human. Like, I would take advantage of everybody, scream directly in your face if I didn't get my way, slam doors to the point where, like, my dad took my doors off the hinges.
Wow.
I took a Sharpie to the walls in my bedroom and, like, just wrote all over them. I
You were a terror.
I was a terror. I was an emo kid. Like, not much
That
has
makes so
changed.
much sense, actually. That makes a lot of sense. That was my sister. My sister was emo. That
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense.
I mean, honestly, not much has changed, but like the really, really angry music where
Mhm.
they're screaming at the top of their lungs about like how they want to die and hate life. Yes.
I'm
Um,
outside of your window with my radio.
yes. And I definitely listened to that band. I remember it vividly on this giant stereo I had on my desk as a kid. But I remember just destroying that room and like just the look of like absolute disgust on my mom and dad's face. And I was like, I just remember turning to my mom and like, first off, mom, there's ugly pink ribbons on this shit. Like, of course I'm gonna draw on it.
And as a mom today, can you imagine your kids being that way? Like reflecting now on what it is like to be a mother and like raising a child and what it takes to like, be a mom. What is that like today?
It's
Looking back at those behaviors, doing this step work, what is that for you?
it's such a whirlwind because I see a lot of myself in both of my children. Really, my youngest. He is a very, very emotional little boy.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a very, very emotional little girl, like, wore my heart on my sleeve, very much still do to this day. And I embrace it with him.
Mm-hmm.
I always want my children to be honest about their feelings. I always want them to be able to tell me exactly where they're at, what's going on, if something's wrong. And being the mom of an autistic kid isn't easy. He has his meltdowns. He throws himself on the floor. He tells me he's gonna break the iPad, break the TV. Thank God he hasn't. But in times like that, where like I just want to scream, like, "Hey, kid, get your shit together."
Yeah.
But that doesn't solve anything, and I have to get down on his level, get down on the floor sometimes, and try to pick him up off the floor, which I physically can't do anymore because he is his father's child and built like a linebacker. But it's being able to be so cognizant of everything that I went through as a kid and provide a safe bubble for my kids to have them know that mom is always here, mom is always listening. Don't ever be afraid to tell me anything. Because as a kid, having a sick mom all the time and a dad who was just difficult, like
E-
a giant hard ass.
Emotionally unavailable too, it sounds like.
He really was. And it wasn't until my mom passed away that my dad actually became more perceptive to try to be emotionally available in the best way that he understood how.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, like I don't ever want my children to feel like they can't tell me something or to be scared to come to me when something is truly, truly wrong.
And a lot of that is what we learn in recovery, right? Emotional
Yes.
regulation, emotional communication. Thank God you're clean today and you're raising your kids clean. And you have nearly 2 years, actually. You're celebrating February 1st, right?
Yes.
Early congratulations from me.
Thank you. God willing.
God willing, yeah.
God willing.
Yeah. One day at a time for sure.
Yes.
It's definitely an advantage for you to be in recovery and to have an autistic child because a lot of what autism is emotional dysregulation and inability to communicate said feelings, thoughts, emotions, frustrations. And so you get the very typical acting out in a person who has autism in a different way, right? They're acting out because they can't express themselves and they're struggling to communicate their needs. But as a person in recovery, you're learning how to do that for yourself. So teaching that to your child is fantastic, you know. So your child is very lucky to have a mom in recovery because there aren't a lot of autistic children out there with parents who know what it takes to be able to communicate those emotions, right? And to have those internal struggles. You don't suffer from autism, but you suffer from ADHD, which is, there's a lot of overlap and crossover in those symptoms. So you know what that's like for you,
Mm.
but also you know what it's like because you're an addict. And addicts inherently suffer from an inability to feel their feelings, right? We use our feelings, right? We use our
Yes.
feelings away. What a blessing it is for your son to have a mother in recovery, is what I'm trying to say. It's powerful to think about. So you're coming up as a little terror, a little nightmare.
Yeah, very much so.
Now tell me what your adolescent into early adulthood was like then.
It was a lot of mom being in and out of hospitals, a lot of chemotherapy trips for her, and losing her hair, and going with her to the wig place for her to pick out a wig, watching her vomit and being really, really sick, and me not knowing how to deal with it. Like I said, like I was introduced to weed and I'm like, fuck it, why not? I don't have to feel my feelings. I grew up in a very privileged lifestyle where I never wanted or needed for anything, so I always had money. Where I would take my lunch money and I would spend it on a bag of weed, or on the weekends, mom would give me money to go out with friends, and whatever one of us idiots had the most money to put down on the bottle was the one who was allowed to drink the majority of it. So I remember the first time I ever got shit faced drunk was on Southern Comfort.
Mm.
And I definitely had alcohol poisoning after.
Southern Comfort was also my poison too.
That was the first and last for me. That was disgusting. But it was cheap. It's whatever the kids could get.
You know what I find that there are people that hear the word tequila and are just like I'm one of those people, like I hear the word tequila. People also have that reaction for Southern Comfort too, I found.
That's me with Southern Comfort. I'm the polar
Never
opposite for
once
tequila.
and never. Yeah, exactly. You're either a tequila person or a Southern Comfort person and you can't be both. And if you're
Yes.
both out there, alcohol's a drug.
Yeah, very much so. Alcohol is a drug.
Alcohol is a drug.
So it, like I said, like it progressed from the alcohol to the marijuana, and then after high school I desperately wanted to be a makeup artist. Like I got through high school by the skin of my teeth. So I went to school for skincare after high school because college was not for me. I'm like, no thank you, I can't math, I can't
Well, if
this.
you have undiagnosed ADHD, it's
There
very
you
hard to
go.
school.
Yes, I could not school correctly. So like I had a 504 and an IEP for like extended time on all standardized testing because I couldn't school.
IEP is,
Individualized educational plan.
and that is specifically for people that struggle with, any type of learning cognitive
Yes.
disabilities, right?
Yes. After high school, like I said, like I did the whole thing with the skincare. That didn't really go anywhere, unfortunately. Like I was never able to finish the program. I had some issues and things that happened to me in my personal life, where I didn't finish, and I fell into a really, really, really dark place after that. Like, I started doing ketamine, I started binge drinking, and I couldn't function. And I was seeing a therapist at the time, also on medication at the time. And my mom's like, get this girl some fucking help to the
Well,
therapist.
you're taking ketamine.
I don't even know if they knew. Like, I don't
Of
even.
course they didn't
She
know.
probably fucking like she probably knew in hindsight, but like I don't know. So basically, I got sent upstate for 2 weeks to like a psychiatric unit. I heard the message of the other fellowship, but I like didn't know what like being an addict or addiction even was, so
So
I didn't
in
go.
in the psych ward, you heard that there's another way to live.
I did, but I wasn't privy to what any of it meant or what it was. And I was like, that's not me. I don't have a problem. I'm just a teenager. So I didn't even bother stepping foot into it.
So they had hospitals and institution presentations from a
They,
different fellowship, but
yeah, they must have.
yeah.
They must have. So I came home from that, tried to get my shit together, remove myself from those people I was hanging out with, and I started dating a gentleman, a piece of trash to be exact.
Oh no.
And the first year was like all sunshine and roses and daisies and butterflies out my ass. And it wasn't until year two that drugs were introduced in that relationship. And
Oh,
at first it was the weed and the alcohol. I was a year older, so like, of course, I could get the alcohol and whatnot. And then cocaine and ecstasy came into the picture,
oh
and
boy.
I 100% fell head over heels in love. Because at this point now, I was just dating the drug dealer.
Well, and also you suffer from a depressive disorder, so this is a stimulant, and this is like, this is great.
Yeah, this was great. And within that like first year my of the relationship, my anxiety had decided to run rampant. So I was also prescribed Ativan and Clonopin.
Oh my
So
goodness.
I was mentally addicted to that without even knowing.
So, just for people who don't know what these drugs are, these are pretty serious anti-anxiety medications and stabilizing medications that you're taking uppers with.
Yeah, I was taking the benzos, and so people didn't understand like how I was functioning, how I was sleeping at night, like rolling face all day long. I'm like, oh honey, it's okay. I just take a little bit of a Clonopin and Ativan to go to bed at night. Like that's not normal.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
So it ended up being the psychosis from the cocaine and the ecstasy and a
Recipe
pl-
for disaster.
I was going downhill fast, and it was a plethora of hospitalizations, like more than I can count on my fingers and toes. And I was first diagnosed with bipolar, and they were like, so they put me on medication for that.
That happens to a lot of people who use drugs actually and are hospitalized as a result of their drug usage because you present as manic, but really you're just high. So if you're not telling the doctors that you're taking drugs, they're like, this chick is bipolar.
I refused to tell them that I had a drug problem
Me
because I didn't think
too.
I did. I'm like, just my mental health, fuck that. So I got like put on Haldol, lithium, like all the
Oh my
fucking
God,
things,
Haldol is
right?
scary, dude. I've been on that.
I was hugging the fucking wall. I was hugging the wall, Sophie. Yes, doing the Haldol shuffle down the street.
Oh,
Um, so you know, long story short, they eventually ruled it out when I first tried to get clean my first go around in Narcotics Anonymous.
how old were you then?
My early 20s.
Mm.
I was maybe 22, 23.
So how did you hear the message of Narcotics Anonymous for the first time then?
I woke up one day and I'm like, Mom, I have a drug problem. And she's
Oh.
like, Well, thank you, Captain Obvious. But like in more loving words than that. And she had a very, very good friend at the time whose son was in the other fellowship,
Hmm.
um, who was also a drug addict, but just chose AA. And I went to my first meeting with him.
An Alcoholics Anonymous meeting?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. I went to AA. I felt really out of place. Everybody was a fuck ton older than me. And while I felt the love and the support, I knew this isn't where I want to call home.
Yeah.
This isn't me.
Hmm.
So I asked him about the other fellowship. He said, Hey, all you got to do is go to, ni.org and you'll figure it out. Type in Nassau County. And I found a meeting the next day and I felt home.
Yeah. Well, the other thing, everybody has a fellowship for themselves, but the other thing about AA is that they focus on a substance and we focus on the disease of addiction in Narcotics Anonymous. So it doesn't really matter what you use, it's just the act of using something to escape your feelings is what we're trying to avoid, right? We're trying to live life on life's terms. And so what that gives people when you identify a substance, you say, "Oh, we're trying to be free from alcohol." That means you can engage in other stuff, right? And so it
Mm-hmm.
gives you a little bit more leeway, and that's the exact opposite of what you need. You need to get clean.
I needed to do that full, wholehearted surrender.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have a problem with alcohol at the time. So I'm like, I don't fit.
Yeah, you don't relate.
Yeah, I 100% couldn't relate. And so, like I said, like the next day I made an NA meeting and I stuck and I stayed for a long time. I had almost 2 years clean when I decided to leave NA for the first time. And it was because I had met, my significant other. We got pregnant with our first kid shortly after my mom passed because I lost my mom in recovery. And by the grace of God, I managed to stay clean through that. Um, and we had made the very, very dopey decision to not raise a child in the rooms. We thought that we were quote unquote cured and that
You
we could do
recovered.
this. Yes, we thought that we were recovered.
We have our
And
baby now. We don't need the rooms.
yeah, we thought that we
Crazy.
were full-fledged adults.
Oh God.
No, I was a child still. Oh no. And that ended up very much blowing up in both of our faces.
Mm.
Very, very much
Was
blowing
he
up in
also
both
in the
of our.
fellowship?
Yeah. Yeah, he's in the fellowship. I mean, everybody knows who he
Yeah,
is in
yeah.
the rooms for
You
the
don't have
most
to say
part.
his name. It's fine.
No, no, no. Everybody mostly knows who he is. But so I tried being a normie for the longest time, and it just didn't work. Marijuana eventually became a thing again. Never around my kids. Like I never got high in front of them. But alcohol was a thing, but it wasn't a persistent thing. Like I could socially drink, and then my significant other, his addiction took off to the races, and unfortunately I had to file for divorce. And it was at that time where I was like, well, if he can do what he's doing and check out, I'm going to check out too. And so
And you're going
edibles,
through a
and
divorce, which
I was
is
going through
just
it. Not only was I going through a divorce, but I also found out that my dad was dying.
right.
Having to sign over custody of my children to, my ex mother in law. It was everything all at once, and like being evicted and not knowing where I was going.
Because
And
you can't raise the kids. He can't raise the kids. You guys are both using at this point.
mm-hmm.
Oh, God.
So I did what I knew was best and what was in the best interest of my children.
Hmm.
Um, so, it was a lot of trying to come back to NA for a long time and still wanting so desperately to be normal, having people tell me I was normal. Finally moving into this apartment I live in now and being able to provide a roof over my own head and
Be a
knowing,
functioning member of society.
attempting to be a functioning member of society, and just knowing, like, hey, like, the math doesn't math. Nothing's adding up. I'm still miserable.
Hmm.
And, having my youngest find a bottle of alcohol, wine to be exact, in my recycling bin and saying, Mommy, like, you're so sad all the time. You used to take us to NA meetings. Why can't you just go back?
Oh, my
Why can't you
goodness.
be
Oh,
happy? And
no.
it was in that moment that I knew I had to get my shit together. And I made a meeting and I haven't left since.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And it was the best decision. And it's like, like you said earlier, I was there at the time of my dad's death. I was the one who noticed that he had stopped breathing. And, I had had PTSD from prior things happening to me in my life. I was strangled to be exact, and I was also raped more than once
Oh,
because
my
people
goodness.
suck. I tried so hard to not let it affect me, but it definitely did. And I think that's, a major reason of why my, disease had taken off again. But now, like looking back at it and everything that I've gone through, and with the formal diagnosis of the PTSD and the borderline personality disorder, the anxiety, the depression, ADHD, and probably other things that I don't know, um, I'm proud of the woman who I am. Like, I really, really am truly proud of the woman that I've become. And, a lot of people say, like, oh, I regret being an addict. I regret picking up the first one. And I could very well sit here and say the same thing, but I'd be a full fledged liar. I don't regret it. Did I make some really heinous decisions for myself? Absolutely. But at the same time, I feel like it's truly molded me into the human I'm supposed to be today. Like, you know, my whole thing is mental health. I'm a massive advocate for it, and I'll scream it from the rooftops if I have to, that mental health is real health and that it's okay to not be okay. Um, and then I 100% let my children know that every single day. It is okay not to be okay. You want to cry for an hour until you feel better? Go right on ahead because I'm right there with you, kid.
Yeah.
Um,
Feel the feelings until you feel better. You have to share about it so you don't use over it,
exactly.
right?
Exactly. I really do. And, it's doing step work, having a phenomenal sponsor in the way that I do. And
I love your sponsor.
yeah, she's awesome.
She's the freaking best, man.
And
Shout
switch
out. What up,
and
girl?
switching one drug for another. So it's like I stopped using drugs and now I've become a full-fledged service junkie with
Yeah.
the H&I and the public relations and the GSR for my home group, and I bake cookies for my home group and other desserts all the time for them, and it's just my way to give back what was so freely given to me, and I've earned my seat. I'm not giving it away to another person. Hell no.
Yeah, you're not giving it up. You do a lot of really good service, and thank God that you did go through addiction because now you're giving back to that same community within your career. You're going to school. Tell us a little bit about that.
Um, so
A
I,
person who, did in science and did in math, going right back to school, ladies and gentlemen.
yeah, so I completed the course for peer advocacy. I uh I got to send all the paperwork up to the state and, well, to Albany rather. I was told it takes about 3 weeks to hear the answer, which I was told by a wonderful gentleman who happens to be my significant other sponsor that he put my name on the approval list.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah,
Congratulations. What
thank you.
wonderful news.
Yeah, I'm really excited. He's big into the mental health field as well. So I am actively looking for a job in the field for peer advocacy, and I'm going to start doing that and get a little bit of income underneath my belt. And then I'm going to go ahead and self pay for Malloy to become a KSAC.
That's amazing.
I'm really excited. It's constant open enrollment, where you can just kind of slide into the classes,
What
you
is a
sign up.
KSAC?
A certified alcohol and substance abuse counselor.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I'm excited to do it. And, if I don't expect to save everybody, because I know I sure as hell can't, but if I can save one person, then I'm doing the right thing with my life.
Well, all you have to do is just be yourself, right? It's the power of example. It's attraction rather than promotion. And if people have you like a friend, like I do, you look at somebody and you say, "Hey, I want that what that person has," and then you mold yourself into that. So it's very important for you to just be yourself in that process. I am really excited for you to go down that path, and I know you're going to help a lot of people just by being you, by being a loving, kind, caring person who listens. You're an amazing listener. Amazing listener. Being a person on the spectrum, I can see that you have this innate ability to care for people who don't know how to express themselves and act out, and you're going to help a lot of people in this field. So I'm just early congratulations for that. I'm very excited for you. What are your closing reflections on what recovery means to you? How has your life changed? How are you a better person living with mental illness today because you're in recovery?
Honestly, like thinking about it just makes me really, really emotional. It's all the shit that I've been through, like all the hardships, like losing both of my parents, not having a relationship whatsoever with my sister, going through a divorce, getting back together with him, um, having a kid who's difficult, two kids who are difficult, and reflecting on all of it and knowing that I've gained everything that I have because of Narcotics Anonymous. I learned how to be a better mom, a better human. Um
An amazing friend.
I didn't know how to be a friend, right? Like I thought I did and I had no idea. Um and just learning how to take care of myself and show up for myself in appropriate manners and not using sex, drugs, and rock and roll to fix all my problems because that wasn't appropriate. Um
I'm not crying, you're crying.
We're both crying, so be shit. Um, and just understanding what it feels like to be comfortable in my own skin and to accept myself through all of my flaws, which is something I never thought I could do. I can look in the mirror today, say, "Hey, you're not a bad person." You look a little funny sometimes, but you're not a bad person. And to tell myself, like, hey, like, I am a good mom. I am a good significant other. I'm a good cat mom, like stupid shit. Um, and just be proud of myself, which is like the most important thing ever because I resented and hated myself for years. And now I don't. I've come to terms with this is who I am, take it or leave it, but I'm not going to change to appease to other people anymore.
It's the promise of freedom, and I'm glad that you've achieved that in your personal life. And I'm very proud of you. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
sharing your story and your experience. I love you so much.
I love you too.
And you're wonderful. And early congratulations on your new career and your clean time. And thank you for all the service that you do. And thank you for doing this today.
It was my absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.
The Voices of Recovery podcast is an independent production of the Works of Wisdom. We welcome your questions and donations via PayPal at voicesofrecoverypod@gmail.com. This podcast is an independent production and is not affiliated with, associated with, authorized by, endorsed by, or in any way officially connected with Narcotics Anonymous or any of its subsidiaries or affiliates. While NA literature may be read during episodes for the purpose of supporting recovery, such use does not constitute an official endorsement or representation by Narcotics Anonymous. In accordance with NA tradition, the NA name is not to be used to endorse or be affiliated with any outside enterprise, and no such endorsement or affiliation is implied. Music is by Sage. Thanks for listening to the Voices of Recovery podcast.